Hey, this is me Nivya, and today I'm going to speak about the book A Little History of Religion by Richard Holloway. The book's title itself is quite self-explanatory as to what the content of the book will be. It is a brief history of religion covered within 200 to 250 pages. An amazing book. This book starts with certain terminologies which are related to religion, like for example, theist, one who thinks that there is God out there. Atheist, one who thinks that there is nothing or nobody called as God. Theology, the study of religion and what it wants from us. Agnosticism, it's a terminology taken from the Greek word, means unknowable. So you're unsure or uncertain as to whether God exists or not. Then there is Latin terminology, spiritus, which means blow. One that inhibits the body and then departs during the time of death. Now, where does it depart to? The origination of human or human existence. The answers to these questions varies with different religions, and that is what is being explained in this book. Certainly, they are all beliefs of different religions. This book covers a lot of religions, even though it's just 200 to 250 pages book. It covers a lot of information, as in why particular religions were formed, how it was formed, and a very informative book, in fact. Before I get into the content of this book in deep, let me tell you why you should read this book. Firstly, if you are a theist and you believe in certain religion or God, mostly you would have inherited it from your parents. You know, the culture, like you've just taken it from your parents. You have not chosen it. So you should definitely know other religions in order to understand the ideologies, whether it resonates with yours. Like probably other religions' ideologies would be resonating with you more than the one that you follow right now, because you don't know other religions yet. Secondly, as I said, you've just taken it from your parents, inherited it, and you just blindly follow it. You don't know the religion exactly. The religion that you commit to, that you're following, is something that you don't know still. So you should know the deep roots of the religion that you practice or you follow. Third, for people like me, atheists, who do not believe in God, this book really helps us to get a wide knowledge, basically general knowledge about various things that happened and happens around us. And last, but not the least, for the agnostic people out there who are unsure as to whether God exists or not, this is a book that helps you decide which side of the wall you need to jump into. And if you're jumping into the other side, wherein it's theist side, it also helps you decide which religion to pick up, because in the theist area, you have a lot of options to pick up, right? I mean, if you're an atheist, you don't have any options, definitely. But if you are jumping into theist side, you have a lot of options, a lot of religions to pick up. So this book is definitely helpful for everyone. Unlike the history of science and philosophy, it's quite difficult to go with an approach of chronological order for religion, because a lot of things were happening at the same time in different parts of the world. And hence the author has picked up a zigzag way of geography and chronological order to explain different religions. The author also reminds us how impactful religions can be, that the calendar, global calendar, also runs with AD BC. What I liked is the author has left it to the readers to decide whether you want to pick it up with a religious twist or not. That is BCE, before the Christian era, or before the Common Era, and within the Christian era for CE, or Common Era for CE. Before the author gets into particular religions, there is a chapter called as Doors. So the author starts the chapter by stating that you time travel back to 1300 BCE and you find yourself in Sinai Desert in Egypt. You might come across a bearded barefoot man kneeling before a thorn bush. You watch him as he listens intensely to the bush. Then he speaks to it. He listens again. Finally, he gets to his feet and strides away with a purposeful air. The man's name is Moses. And the claim is that there exists a particular power in the universe which is beyond our physical senses, an invisible force which has been in touch with. That is the claim, which has different versions as per different religions. In the history of religion, we'll find people who in their waking hours have the kind of encounters the rest of us only have in dreams, and we call them prophet. In an event of this kind, it's actually the door between the subconscious and the conscious mind opening. So what follows is like a dream. Prophets believe it is coming from outside them, but it's actually coming from their own subconscious mind as per the author. The voice that they hear is real, it speaks to them, but it's their own voice coming from inside their own mind. So one way to think about religion is a projection of the fears and longings of our subconscious mind onto the screen of life. There's one more door for religions, and that is death. So it closes the door after life and then opens it for hell or heaven, or otherwise it's an entrance for the next version of birth, depending on different religions. From there, the author starts with the oldest religion, and as per the author, the most complicated living religion, which is Hinduism. People could always hope that by living well, they might improve their position next time around, and that next time around is the next birth, and that is karma. Our salvation is to achieve release from that illusion, that wheel, and let the self finally disappear. In Western thought, time goes like an arrow fired at a target, so its best image is a straight line. In Indian thought, time turns like a wheel, so its best image is a circle. Just as their karma propels individuals through cycle after cycle of rebirth, so is a universal subject to a similar law. They bring gifts to their god in the temple and tend God with loving care. In performing these rituals, they are going out from themselves into the one. It's basically for the final escape from the wheel of constant return. The other path to salvation takes the opposite approach. It tries to empty itself of the illusion of the self by the practice of meditation. The book also explains how in India and when in India this particular religion was originated. It also explains about Upanishads that are sitting near a teacher, about Rig Veda and much more. Stories of different considered gods by Hindu, that is Kali, Vishnu, Shiva, Ganpati, Brahma, etc. Around 500 BC, there was one person who thought if there is a quicker way to achieve salvation, to get out of that wheel. And that one person was Prince Siddhartha, or most commonly known as Buddha. Buddha was a practical man, or a man of action, and hence Buddhism is a practice and not a creed. It is something to do rather than something to believe, and it's mainly about getting rid of desires. Buddhism became a world religion, but it is hardly found today in the land of its birth, unlike Jainism, which is found hardly anywhere else. Usually described founder of Jainism was Vardhamana, known as Mahavira, or great hero. He distilled his method into 5 commandments: do not kill or harm any living thing, do not steal, do not lie, do not live an unchaste or undisciplined life, do not crave for anything. The irony here is that you do not want to hurt or harm others because you want to reach the state of nirvana. That is where the author has put forward the question very beautifully, that do you really need a religion to ensure that you do not hurt or harm others, or that you need to love your neighbors? Do you really need a recognition or a nirvana state or a heaven in order to ensure that you do not hurt others? Can't it be just done selflessly? Later, the author speaks about Abraham, who is claimed by Jews, Christians and Muslims as their founding father. Abraham's story marks the beginning of the shift from polytheism to monotheism, that is, from the relaxed worship of many gods to strict adherence to one. And also about how that shift happened, and mentions about 10 commandments as well. What surprised the Israelites was the second commandment. It forbade them making pictures not just of God but of anything, no images, no art that baffled them. It was as natural as breathing for humans to paint the animals they hunted or the gods they worshipped, as any child with a piece of chalk could prove. The author also covers Parsis, a small religious community in India. Parsis follow a religion called Zoroastrianism that originated in Iran. Other than the Parsis in India, there aren't many Zoroastrians left in the world today. Until I read this book, I did not even know about the Towers of Silence, which is built somewhere in Mumbai. Parsis believe that dead bodies are unclean, so if they were to bury them, they would pollute the earth that received them. And if they burned them, they would pollute the fire that consumed them. They also believe in being kind to the scavenging animals that help keep the earth clean. So they built these towers of silence on which they expose their dead to the withering heat of the sun and the sharp beaks of the crows and vultures. Then the author gets into China and mentions the religions to be pragmatic. So in China, they believed keeping all the natural forces in balance made sense. It was a practical thing to do. Religion wasn't about believing things, it was about doing things. It was a sensible way to manage the forces of nature in order to provide good things for the human community. Then the author mentions about Taoism. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. For them, the triumph of the soul was not to disappear like a raindrop into the ocean of nirvana, but to achieve personal immortality as a god. Another characteristic that distinguished Taoism from other religions was the place it gave to women, as well as female gods. Taoism had women priests and scholars who played an important part in its history. True to its own philosophy, Taoism lived by the feminine principle yin as well as the masculine principle yang. While there are other religions wherein the author has pointed out, as in the theory for the women not allowed to vote is because they cannot comprehend the complexity of politics. So politics is for men and childbearing for women. While Bible and Quran took subordination of women and slavery for granted, Hinduism brought in untouchability. Later, the author has mentioned about the significance of Mecca for Islam and the different accounts of stories in Jewish Bible and Islam for the first man and woman, Adam and Eve in Eden Garden. The author has clearly mentioned to not think of the Quran as Islam's Bible. There are three big differences. The first is that the Bible was slowly put together over centuries by many different writers and editors. The second is that the Bible is a library, not a single book. And third, the Bible is known to be a human creation formed by human hands. Islam does not accept any of these as descriptions of the Quran. Hell is a place of everlasting torment to which sinners who have not repented are sent at death. In the full understanding of hell that emerged in Christianity and Islam, it is a place from where there is no escape. Towards the end of the book, we read Sikhism, that is the followers or disciples of Guru Nanak. Belief in karma and reincarnation are the most distinctive of the Hindu doctrines, and Nanak accepted them. We might decide that all Nanak had done was to take bits from Hinduism and Islam and repackage them. But what he did next was radical. He got people eating together. Now, why is it important? Because it was forbidden for many other religions. It was there in the Hindu caste system, where even the shadow of an untouchable falling over a Brahmin's lunch rendered it unclean, and it had to be thrown away. Roman Catholics won't eat it with Protestants. There are Protestants who won't eat it with other Protestants or anyone outside the purity of their own circle. Nanak hated all these taboos. He saw how they built walls of separation between people in the name of God who loved them all equally. His response was brilliantly simple. He introduced a custom of communal meal in the Sikh community, and it was open to all castes. This book has a lot more information than what I told you today, and that too written in very simple language that anyone can easily understand. I'll read the last sentences in this book and then finish off this video. Religion may outlive secular humanism. Though it is in decline in many places today, it is still the biggest show on earth, and it is running at a place of worship near you. But it is entirely up to you whether you buy a ticket. Until we meet next time, this is Nivya signing off. Keep reading a lot of books. Take care. Happy reading.